Well, joining us now from Indianapolis is Jeffrely Patchen, President and CEO of the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, the largest children's museum in the world. Welcome to Full Frame, Dr. Patchen. Good to have you here.
Well, it's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Well, we just saw this piece where we're taking around this exhibit. It looks really incredible, so good job on that. But my curiosity is, why did the museum decide to focus on China with this exhibit?
Well, this gallery is an interesting gallery. We call it our Take Me There gallery, and this is just the second iteration of that gallery. And what we do is research other cultures and for contemporary family life. And what we wanted to do is to be able to create for children in the United States and Indiana and the Midwest an understanding of what contemporary China is like. It's the biggest country in the world by population, and we have many Chinese residents in our community, and we wanted children and their parents and grandparents to know about contemporary China.
I got to tell you, Dr. Patchen, I know that the museum is the biggest children's museum in the world, so it's not surprising that you do a lot of different exhibits. I grew up in Ohio, in the Midwest, right next door to Indiana. And I got to say, I was a little surprised when I heard that a museum in Indianapolis wanted to do such a huge exhibit on an Asian country. I guess I was surprised by that, maybe from my background. Should I not be surprised?
Well, we do. You know, we have had a series of exhibits that bring world-class artifacts to the museum. We had King Tut here in 2009, and we've been working for a number of years with folks in Xi'an about how we might bring to for the very first time real terracotta warriors, not just to the United States, but to the world's largest children's museum. And we were able to do that at the same time that we debuted Take Me There China. So it had great appeal for adults as well as young children.
Yeah, it seems like it across the board, a lot of appeal. Well, I know
Absolutely.
A lot of research went into putting this exhibit together, and that meant a lot of hands-on research actually going to China. Tell me a little bit about how that all came together.
It did. It actually did. And we started with teams of our staff and local affiliations, and then affiliations at the federal government, in the provincial government. So we started relationships in Xi'an related to the terracotta warriors, and also the Shaolin Temple, the Chengdu Giant Panda Breeding Center. So we struck relationships with actively engaged, relevant organizations and agencies in China that we would be able to showcase the great work that they're doing and have everyone here understand, for example, the conservation work that's going on with the warriors and some of the new things coming out of the ground. We also wanted folks to know that all that China's doing with the preservation of panda habitat, et cetera. So it was, we wanted to do this hands-on, and that's the way we've done this. We take staff over to China. I have been actually going to China since the mid-'80s.
Oh, wow.
For a variety of reasons, and have always had a fondness for China. But we also wanted to be able to have children and families learn some language, learn some calligraphy, not just, oh, China must be about terracotta warriors and ancient architecture, et cetera, but we wanted them to understand urban China and urban dwelling and the marketplace and all of these things.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about this exhibit. The videos that I've seen, you actually have everyday life things, going to the market, cooking at home. You even feature a real family that the exhibit sort of follows, so that people can get a sense of what everyday life is really like.
Absolutely. Living spaces in contemporary urban, large Chinese city to more rural, traditional architecture and homes in more rural China by generations. So it's been absolutely great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Now, you also have something called the Teachers in Residence at the museum, and for this exhibit particularly. Tell me a little bit more about why that was so important to incorporate.
Well, we wanted our children and students to learn from native Chinese and both artists, actors. In some cases, we've had monks here that help teach our staff some of the basics of Kung Fu, and not so much the
Wow.
Kung Fu from a martial art or a fighting perspective, but from the whole discipline of Kung Fu. And so we actually have demonstrations where we gather folks around and they learn a little bit of Kung Fu.
That's great.
We have a Zen player that actually explains to children how the instrument is played. Same thing with the erhu, and it just helps children and the families understand what real China is like.
Well, I think that's the case in anything, right? The more hands-on
Absolutely.
experience, interactivity, which is what I love about this exhibit. There's all this interaction with the exhibits. I know that the turnout thus far has been really incredible. Have you been surprised by that? Can you share with us how many people have actually come to see this?
Well, since we opened, I mean, it's been probably over a million visitors since, I would say, probably close to 1.2 million visitors.
Wow.
in that space alone. And it's interesting because we do regular research on what are our families taking away from the experience and comparing it to the previous culture. And the previous culture was Egypt, and you might say, well, what does Indianapolis have in common with Egypt, or really even with China? And we find that folks just loved China even more than the experience that they had in Egypt. And so, and repeat visitation. It's the second highest, most repeat visitation gallery in the museum, other than our dinosaur exhibit.
That's amazing. So people are finding that they want to get more, so they come back. That's a
Mommy,
testament.
can we go back to China? It's like, Mommy, can we come back to China? Right.
That's great. So I'm sure the kids, obviously you're saying the response has been tremendous with kids, but again, it's probably across the board, right? Kids of all ages and adults.
Absolutely. And for adults that have never been to China, it dispels stereotypes, which I think is very, very important.
Right.
Americans may think, well, all Chinese live in traditional Chinese architecture, home.
Right.
When that's absolutely not the case. They go into the urban apartment and go, oh, this looks like an apartment anywhere in the world,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was just going to ask you then, the importance of doing something like this. It of course, extends cultural exchange and really shares in different people's lives and the way in which people truly live. In this day and age, especially in our current climate here in the U.S., there's a lot of division, a lot of intolerance, and that's a major issue that people are talking about and trying to grapple with. Something like this has got to be a tool in allowing for that exchange and better understanding and openness, right?
Absolutely. The whole idea of understanding other, that not everyone looks like you, speaks the same language, may speak multiple languages, has a different background and different ancestry, is different food preferences and the like. And actually, it's interesting. In the Take Me There China, where kids get to make faux food, it's hugely popular.
Right.
And using chopsticks for the first time, for example.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things are that's what the little ones in particular just come back and come back and come back for.
That's so great. Wow. I know that the museum plans on some Chinese New Year celebrations, so can you tell me what people should expect to see?
Well, it's Year of the Monkey, and we'll have a traditional Chinese holiday. We're going to have a Chinese shadow puppet expert here. We have a Chinese-American dance troupe, and then we have an Indianapolis Chinese orchestra that will be performing as well. And we have quite a large Chinese community here that just got so excited about the opening of this exhibit and volunteering in the exhibit along with the teacher exchanges. The Chinese community has just been fantastic.
I bet they were excited, but it sounds like everyone is excited about this exhibit. So congratulations to you on such a successful exhibit. It was great to at least see it on video for me, so I experienced some of it, but maybe I'll be able to visit at some point.
You need to come and visit. It'll be open through 2018, so we hope you'll be here.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much for your time, and happy
Thank you so
Chinese New
much.
Year. Okay.
Thank you. Same to you.